fell into an addiction when I was about 11 years old, and I blame it on my dad. I didn't really want to do it, but he made me, and I immediately thought to myself, this is the best feeling ever. And now I'm hooked. I can't stop. It's all I can think about. This addiction is dangerous, unexpected, risky, and even intimidating. Yet, it's also exhilarating, rewarding, and beautiful. It can make you feel vulnerable and yet comfortable. No, don't worry. Surfing is my drug. And today, I'm going to share with you how my addiction can be both calming and scary at the same time, and that sometimes in life, risks can be rewarding. The best example of this is the Bonsai Pipeline, one of the most famous waves in the world, located on the North Shore of Oahu. It is also considered the Mecca of surfing. This break has the highest risk-reward ratio in the world. Everyone wants to surf the pipeline, or simply the pipe, as it's commonly referred to. But it is not that simple. 20-foot waves break on 2 feet of razor-sharp coral, and multiple deaths have occurred there over the years. It's intimidating to a surfer, but also so beautiful and a challenge any surfer would want to brag about. Underneath is where the nastiness lies, a super shallow, sharp reef. Surfers can get easily lodged into or raked across, lacerating their bodies to shreds. The pipe takes guts. If you have the guts to surf it and are skilled enough to win the battle, you have the best reward, a huge wave breaking along the reef that most surfers can only ride in their dreams. If you never take that risk, then you'll never be able to get that reward. Bruce Irons, one of my favorite surfers, described the feeling of catching a wave as being kissed by God. Science explains how surfing can be addictive. In your body, you have endorphins that are responsible for your feelings and emotion. These endorphins peak when you do something unexpected or dangerous. For example, doing something new on your surfboard or surfing in very challenging conditions. When surfing, you also release dopamine because it makes your body feel so good. Finally, surfers just know how to feel comfortable in the ocean, especially in their favorite surf spots. This keeps people coming back for more waves and new challenges because no day or wave is the same. But my passion for surfing is more than just catching waves. It has taught me when to learn when to take the right risks and when to not. For example, in surfing, you always need to be prepared for the unexpected. Knowing your comfort zone is a crucial part of the sport. You must know the fine line of when to look for that reward and when to sit out on the beach. Surfing is dangerous. There are rip currents that can suck you out into the ocean at any given moment. There are waves that can break your body into two and push you down to the bottom of the ocean until you're lifeless. I've been surfing for 4 years, and I am nowhere ready to take the risk of the Bonsai Pipeline, but I am working toward it one wave at a time. You can't just take a risk and expect the reward right away. It can take years and years of practice. If you try something risky without knowing what you are doing, you can put yourself in a lot of danger. That's when the risk-to-reward ratio is too high for the less experienced. Too much risk and no reward. I've seen this happen with my own eyes. One day, my friends and I decided to go surfing in the late afternoon at my favorite spot in Boca Raton, Palmetto Park. Although it's a great spot, there are a lot of tourists, and the lifeguards leave at 6 p.m. My friends and I were sitting on our boards when I saw a perfect wave coming, so I paddled into it and stood up. As I was on the wave, I noticed something unusual. Someone's hand sticking out of the water, but not their head. At first, I kind of shook it off and continued surfing the wave. When the wave was over, I looked back over and saw that that person was making hand signals toward the beach. That's when my adrenaline kicked in. I swam over to him as fast as I could and tried to lift his head above the water. But he apparently did not know how to swim and was being sucked out into the ocean by the strong rip currents. He was completely out of breath, and it was just a matter of time until he went under for good. The man was panicking, so I tried to calm him down by talking to him and trying to get him on my surfboard. I have a fairly short surfboard that only advanced surfers would be able to ride, and without proper form, it would not work as a flotation device. He just kept on flipping it over and going back under. I knew he didn't have much time left, so I did the only logical thing I knew. I grabbed him and swam as hard as I could until we got into ankle-deep water. I took a risk to save this man because saving someone from drowning put me in danger as well. The person drowning may try to use you as a flotation device and bring you on there with them. Even though I knew these risks, I still went for the reward because I cannot sit there and watch a man drown, so I ended up getting the reward of saving someone's life. With these dangers, non-surfers would ask, Are these risks really worth just riding on a wave for a couple of seconds? You need to know the fine line of when to go out into unruly conditions or staying on shore and enjoying watching those who are better than you take on those conditions. It's a really hard thing for the addict to do. It took years of watching others, but I learned when I felt comfortable in the water and when it is time to go to the shore until the conditions were okay to go out and look for that reward. People get good at the sport by pushing themselves a little further each day, not all at once, just like real life. You can't just try something way harder and expect to succeed. You need to slowly make things more difficult, but to do so, you need to train, work hard, and continue to take on new challenges, but only when you are ready. In the ocean, you are always going to be vulnerable, knowing that the ocean is going to be stronger than you. A surfer will win battles, but there will also be losses along the way. You need to learn to feel comfortable being vulnerable, and that is okay. It's that feeling that I am one with the ocean that keeps me most comfortable. Most importantly, this addiction to surfing has brought me places that I never would have expected. I would not even think about going if it weren't for the waves. From these places, I received a huge reward. When I was in the 7th grade, one of my best friends invited me on a surf trip to Nicaragua for his birthday. Nicaragua is one of the most famous destinations in the world for surfing and is known for huge waves and offshore winds all year long. The offshore winds clean up the wave, and surfers would describe the wave as glassy. We woke up one morning, and I had my surfboards packed in my bag, and I was ready to take on the huge waves in Nicaragua. Driving to the airport, I was told by my friend's parents that we would be also doing some community service while we were there. I shrugged that statement off because all I could think about was surfing. When we landed in the airport of Managua, I was expecting perfect beaches and palm trees, but all I saw was a beat-down country. At this moment, I realized as good as the waves are, none of the surf pictures, like this one, from Nicaragua, show what the cities of the country really are like. Although surfing was still a huge part of the trip, it was no longer the only thing on my mind. I slowly started to focus on the community service aspect because I wanted to help. My friend and I went to a local club that helped poor kids. We brought them to the bicycle shop and bought them what they wanted with the money raised off my friend's GoFundMe. We bought the bicycle supplies back to their beat-down little home with no air conditioning, and we built their bicycles. I saw their smiles. They were so happy to receive new bicycles, and from this experience, I learned that this country is not what the surfing media portrays it to be. There are people there that need help, and I plan to go back even more to help. Without the risk of my taking up of the sport of surfing, I doubt that I've ever gone to Nicaragua. I was able to discover the reward of helping others in a poor country that really needed help, and this really changed the outlook of the world. Now going back to the pipeline. If you surf the pipeline without a ton of experience, this would be a risk that you are not ready for. Just like in real life, you cannot ever take risks thinking that you're going to get that reward right away. Work hard, practice, and don't quit, and then you will achieve your ultimate goal of getting that reward.